leaking top insider stock trades every day until they stop us, September 25th. Today we have two interesting purchases at a couple of pharmaceutical companies with some potential catalysts coming up, and we have two interesting sales at some energy companies that are risky but could be interesting. We'll start with AbbVie Corp, which is a clinical stage biotech designing therapeutics with generative AI. They had two insiders that just bought the stock, along with the chief innovation officer that bought back in July. The director that just bought the stock bought $250,000 and increased their holdings by over 500%, and it's their first time buying the stock. A couple of reasons this is interesting. One, they have a generative AI integrated drug creation platform that obviously has the whole AI tailwind behind it, but they've also announced some partnerships with Oracle and AMD has invested in them. So any more announcements around this kind of AI drug related stuff could definitely be a positive. They've also announced that they anticipate one or more drug creation partnerships, including one with a large pharmaceutical company, which obviously could also be good. On top of that, they have a phase 1 trial ongoing for IBS with some interim results due before the end of the year, which obviously would be a big catalyst if those results come out good. And then starting next year, they'll have trials starting for an alopecia drug that they'll get their first results back at the end of next year as well. So I think there's a lot of forward catalysts for this company, making these insider purchases very interesting. Next up, we've got Arvinas, where a director also bought $200,000 of the stock, and they've averaged over 25% 3-month returns on their previous purchases. However, none of these purchases are anytime recently. They actually haven't bought any stock since 2020, so this is their first purchase in a very long time. This is another clinical stage biotech company that's had its terrible year, down 70% in the last year. They've also had some poor recent results with a drug they partnered with Pfizer to create, which has basically ruined any commercialization potential for that drug, and now they're just trying to get rid of it so that they can cut costs. However, the positives here are that they did announce a $100 million buyback program, and they have two ongoing programs that will have data readouts before the end of the year, or at least they should. They aren't going to be like the big end of phase 1 or 2 or 3 trial readouts, but they'll be interim readouts that could still be a catalyst for the stock, which I think makes this an interesting stock through the end of the year. However, plenty of long-term concerns as the company's just been run pretty poorly and hasn't really had any great news or outcomes recently. I think this buyback and these catalysts make this an interesting play through the end of the year, but not necessarily a particularly long-term hold. Next up, we've got Hallador Energy, where a director sold $1.64 million of the stock. This director averages about 19% 3-month returns on their previous sales, meaning the stock falls on average about 19%. And the other insiders as a whole have done a pretty good job in the short term, timing both their buys and sells at this company. Over the long term, the timing has not been very good. Both the company and industry have been very strong recently, so this would be a bet on a little bit of a pullback here over about the next 3 months. However, this is a bit of a risky play. As we mentioned, it's a hot industry, a hot stock, and obviously any news that comes out about like AI data center power generation partnerships would cause the stock to take off. We have a pretty similar story at T1 Energy, where a director also sold about $1.5 million of the stock. Find all the top insider trades at CEOWatcher.com.